The grade cricketer is a Twitter stream. It's about playing cricket at the grade level.
Boys! Get a few today, did you?
To be honest with you, I hate grade cricket.
I went into to play for a team called the name escaped me.
Obviously, sharing's always a big issue, for young kids coming into a senior cricket team.
It was like a win and leave.
A bit of advice to the player. That's what I want.
I refer to the great cricketer here and I'll say, this'll do a little bit early.
Oh, what a show, what a show, what a show, what a show we've got for you, fair viewers, nay, listeners out there on the internet. Oh, the Australian cricket team has cancelled their tour to South Africa. Would they have done that if it was another country? I don't know.
Oh, your mouth's gone again.
The CA Awards have happened. The Big Bash final has happened. More importantly, the circuit has. India's in England. Root's a big boy. He's a big boy again. Ah! Shit. Hey, Pakistan beat South Africa for the first time since 2003. The West Indies and Bangladesh played. No one cares about that except for Kyle Myers hit 210 not out on debut. Shame for him not in the losing side, but all the same, a wonderful achievement. That's all if we went into a hashtag RCGC. If we've got time, I don't even know because Usman Khawaja is on the show. He's on the show. Steve O'Keefe's still on the circuit. He's popping in. And DeMarcus Boogie Harris is in the show. He is in the show, in the studio at TGC Towers. It's a ram-packed show. My name's Ian Higgins. Sam Perry is over there. You can see him. You can hear him. You can hear him now.
Trimmed my eyebrows the other day.
This show is brought to you, as ever, by Budgie Smuggler. Use the code CHAMP for free shipping. Pezzy lad?
Yes.
I'm not sure if he caught this. In fact, I know that you have. But keen observers of my cricket would have seen that Tasmanian Premier First Grade Cricket the final was being played on a Monday. Less said about that, the better. Not sure if you saw this, though, specifically. Tim Payne. I'll take new pill here, boys.
Yeah.
Have a roll. Have a roll of new pill. He took 1 for 60 off 10 and made 9 opening the batting. So there's that. Have you seen any examples similar in your experience or something in the realm of this?
Well, I think we all have around club cricket, similar themed things. I mean, we've said from day dot on TGC that there is a pyramid. It's based on medieval structures.
That's right.
Kings and barons at the top.
That's right.
Etc. We don't need to go through it.
Mm-hmm. Poppers at the bottom.
Poppers at the bottom. Levers.
Yeah.
Levers, if you will.
Everyone in the middle just trying to stay relevant.
Brought to you by
yeah.
So everyone's aware of this. The player at the higher level comes back and has a stick if he's a bowler. You see, let's say the other way around, where say the keeper opens the bowling in the first grade final, and I did look at it like quite with a lot of interest because I was like, what's happened here? I mean, this is a wonderful PR opportunity. It's a wonderful PR story. The Aussies have been in the bubble. Tim Payne's been under the pump. He's the Australian Test captain. Australian men's Test captain.
That's right, I caught that, yeah.
And he's decided, you know what? I'm just going to go back to my roots and play a bit of first grade.
Yeah.
Humble.
Touching.
Noble.
Yeah.
Touching.
Humility. Elite honesty.
Now, I don't know how this could happen any other way than him just sitting in the dressing rooms and just saying, I'll take the new rock.
Dead eyes looking straight ahead.
Yeah. Give me the new rock. Just give it to me.
Nugs, you got first over?
Yeah.
I'll take
and you look for redeeming qualities to that.
Always.
And you're like, okay, he actually averages 25 with the ball bowling for UTAS. I looked this up. Mm-hmm. He's taken about 16 wickets, 100 odd overs, so he's bowled a little bit for them.
Yeah.
I had a look at the bowling.
Yep. What are your thoughts?
Well, we're talking about the fourth net bowler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking about the guy who comes in to bowl after you face a 3, opening quicks or something. Oh, great. I can face this guy now.
Now, if he was bowling in jeans, I've faced that guy before. That was the level of it.
He's just swung it out of his hand. It's down leg side. There are wides everywhere. And I'm trying to think, look, maybe it's, if we give Payne the new rock, it's like, well, if I've got to face a Test captain, don't want to get out to him, that kind of gear and whatever. But it's pretty hard. And because then there was more footage. He was bowling off spin later.
He came back by some offies later.
Well, just give him a roll of all offies. It took one for. He broke an important partnership.
That's right.
And then he opened the bat. He was out for 9. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's hard to go past that. I mean, that's a pretty good example of it.
We've spoken in the past about junk time runs or runs in the second innings after the game is done. You've already passed that score. You've got to keep batting till T because of the regulations and the laws that are in place in certain structures of amateur level cricket where you have to keep playing. Why? I don't know. It just says something in this book.
Yeah.
But it sort of reminded me a bit of like these guys want to keep batting. All right, let's bowl blokes who never bowled before. That's what it looked like, except it's first grade.
And a grand final.
Yeah, and Caleb Jewell's playing.
Yeah.
He's batting against him. He's actually quite a good bat.
Now, UTAS went on to win.
Yep.
Thankfully for Tim Payne. Saved his blushes.
Yes.
There would have been no blushes. He's got nobody. He can't blush because he's got Botox for starters. Oh, well done. Oh, I think if you're prepared to open the bowling, I don't think you worry too much. You know what I mean?
You do what you want. Do what you
I got
want.
a bit of shape.
Do what you want. Now, Pez, patreon.com/great cricket. A really quick one here. Hashtag Ask CDSA Fridays, episode 26. We had a deep dive discussion of who you wanted at the dinner party, Benno or Bradman. Gone into some really strange areas there. You can find that at patreon.com/great cricket.
Hey, Don, there's someone in the bathroom for you. That kind of stuff.
That kind of gear, it's good gear, if you take my drift. And there's also some dream analysis from our resident psychologist up there as well this week.
We have a resident psychological scientist.
Psychological scientist, yes.
Jake Vincent, who goes beyond our armchair dream analysis and provides some serious dream analysis.
Yeah.
This one he talks about the origins of twerking and how village cricket symbolises unexplored opposites in the psyche.
Sure.
You're going to get that kind of expertise and quality at patreon.com/great cricketer.
The Australian cricket team has cancelled their tour of South Africa.
Postpone.
They postpone it. Correct. That's the correct terminology. They've not cancelled it. I'm not sure when they're going to play it, but they'll get round to it. The Australian team now, the test team doesn't play again for 8 months until the Ashes. So they might have a window, but that's footy season. Not sure how the Sharks are going to,
And India and England are not available.
Yes, they're doing other stuff. Now, this is a real shame because we always have such a good time when we go to South Africa, don't we?
Always good cricket.
It's always good cricket, and now we've sort of been deprived that opportunity to watch it and also make the World Test Championship final unless England do some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
To a point.
There's meant to be a backlog of cricket because of the virus-ridden year
There's
we've
a pandemic, mate, yeah.
But Australia has somehow conspired to not play any Test cricket until December, and by the time they go to India in 2022, they won't have played an away series for 20 months. So
how's that possible? What are we, New Zealand?
Yeah, and I'm very millennial in this sense. Like my dad used to say to me, it's actually good that they're playing less cricket. It's good when they play less cricket because it makes each one more special.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
And I'm like, that's a really good idea. And now it's like, give me some fucking cricket.
Yeah.
I want NBA on every day for tests.
I've seen everything on TikTok.
Yeah.
Now give me something else. Give me a new thing that hits my brain just right.
I've seen Warner
some endorphins.
superimposing his face over Bollywood videos on Instagram with some strange software. And now I just want to see,
Yeah. Well, we're not going to have that opportunity. And also the team won't get to mend the relationship with Justin Langer, which I believe is now accepted broadly that, there's been some tough times. But Steve Smith came out, AB medalist this year for the third time. Not sure how. I think he deserved it 2 years ago, so he gets it this year.
Cummins has upset someone.
Yeah.
That's all we can conclude.
Well, he didn't play those short form games, did he? 'Cause he's playing the IPL.
Yeah.
Which also starts next week. No, it starts in a little bit, but
it starts soon.
So there's no chance to mend immediately the relationship between players and coach.
Well, we obviously made some strong comments last week, and all I can really say is the cricket industrial complex has closed ranks around this issue now. And our comment is, fuck, look, JL's good, mate. He just he's a bit of tough love, It was a 16-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
About, untenable relationships.
Right.
Had sold papers for a bit.
Yeah.
But they're going behind closed doors now.
Yeah.
He goes. And I think,
anyone want to deep dive that? Anyone want to ask a couple of questions?
Questions there.
Don't worry about it.
All good. We've had a couple of a couple of the legends of the game come out firmly behind JL, as they're entitled to do.
They are.
What was it? Mitchell Johnson said it was a cop-out. Players were leaking. Alan Border said it was weak. Michael Clark said it wasn't the right way to go about it. Damien Martin said something I didn't really decipher. Adam Vogues said that JL was demanding. Border said players don't like tough love. The walls have closed in. There's no more reports.
Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Shut him up. Shut him up.
I didn't think Bill Hicks was going to make the show. He's in as well. I'm going to promote that as well.
Hey, I thought Langer has done a fantastic job post Sandpaper. I really believe that.
Yeah.
He has been a fantastic turnaround CEO. He really has turned them around. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a really valid, mature conversation about if he's the right guy for the team right now, just based on record. I mean, we don't have to do a Freudian analysis of his
but what's
personality,
he like as a bloke?
all of that
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah.
You don't actually have to do it. You just have to look at the record and go, can the team do better? And if the answer's no, we want to stick with JL. Okay, that's fine. But it's okay to talk about it, I think. And I do think it's interesting that, that the reaction to players leaking, I suppose, has been they shouldn't do that. But I think a deeper question is, why have they done that? Why?
Oh, mate, it's in the spectre of nuances and binary worlds that we all live in, especially in cricket.
Indeed, you've always said that.
All of these things can be true. Maybe the players are a little bit soft, but then why are they doing that? Maybe Langer.
Whose responsibility is that? If a player's got to that point, what's that? What is that environment?
Langer has done really well to get to Australia to this point. Can they do better? All these things are available to be true at the exact same time. So I think you make valid points there, and I'll be the arbiter, etc., etc.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just wait till the wheels come off in a few years' time.
Hey, mate, we were going to talk about the BBL and the final and the semi-final and all that stuff, and we thought, no one really cares about that from our perspective.
Yeah. No one wants to know what two internet blokes think about the BBL.
Exactly. So what we thought we'd do is we just call Steve O'Keefe. I think he's actually just got home from the circuit, which happened 3 days ago. So here he is. Here's Steve O'Keefe.
Well, here goes. There was only one man to speak to when it came to discussing the BBL final and the aftermath, more importantly. And that is our dear friend of the show, Stephen Sock O'Keefe. Sock joins us from Manly somewhere. Sock, g'day.
How are you, boys? I am absolutely sorry. I just asked you how you were, and then I just started trapping on. So I'll just keep going. I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear, but it's a pleasure to be speaking to you both.
So let's get it out of the way and start with the game. Stock's done it again, once again. There's only one Sixers player in the Aussie side. Yous have dominated the comp, and I said yous. Yeah. And there you are, none for 20 odd or something, or 4 miserly overs, doing the business in the big game again. That's a three-peat for you. That's 3 titles. The Sixers have done the business. What are your reflections already?
How bad was that drop catch off Livingston, though? What did that feel like at home watching the game? Because it was 30,000 people there. You couldn't hear a bloke next to you, and as soon as I dropped that, you could hear a pin drop. So that was such a bad way to start the game. I'm not living that down, but mate, outside of that, it was unbelievable. I've never played in front of a better crowd. Like, they were clapping dot balls, and then when AJ Wide came out to bat, it was just this boo that just went right around the crowd. It was so good. It's like everyone had been locked up in Sydney for the last 6 months, and they couldn't care if that had been a game of croquet or bocce. They were going to come out and yell their lungs out, and they did it for us. So it was so good. It was amazing. It was easily number one best game experience win of my career, hands down.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't really be giving it to AJ Ty because he wouldn't do that. He didn't actually do it to James. That's what people said. He's a pro bowler. They can go wrong.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, that's right. It can go wrong. A foot down leg side and a foot over his head. As James Vince said, he will be the only one who knows whether he did it or not.
Now, Sock, three BBL titles for you, 3 for Dan Christian, your teammate for the Sixers this year. Have you ever seen an angrier man winning a Big Bash title than when he bowled the last one?
It's the same celebration. He's got every time he goes to double cobra, arms out, flexing, and then just looks like he wants to run straight through you. So it's quite a mix. You've got Carlos doing a dance over in the corner. You've got DC who wants to hit you. You've got James Vince when he takes catches running away like he scored some soccer goal in the Premier League, like you can't touch him. It's an eclectic bunch. So no one really knew where to look. Yeah. But mate, it was great fun, and it was so good. We had 6 guys in that team who didn't play, and they enjoyed it more than what we did. They felt just as a part of it, and it was just such a good culture, a great team, and like I said, it was absolutely unbelievable.
And did you learn those 6 players' names on the circuit, or
yeah,
just sort of hang around Vincey and the boys?
Yeah, like a few clubbies turned up, and I was happy to sign a few shirts, but yeah, no. even gave one of them a pair of my old gloves. Just the champ. Thanks for the 3 months of cleaning my boots.
It feels like your eyes rolled to the back of your head while you're saying that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, we'll take us off the field, Sock. You know, back in the sheds. We've been getting Insta stories from a couple of the Sixers boys. Not you, notoriously, actually, but a couple of Sixers boys look like they're still going. Can you just take us in? Can you take us into the circuit or paint a picture?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not on Instagram or any of that stuff, and I just try and live in the moment. And the boys always had the phones. I think the highlight was we stayed right up. We got to drink at the SCG, which is awesome. James Mitch is good at like drinking games and drinking chants from like football days, so he got around everyone. So everyone was pretty bladdered. And then I probably parked at about 4, but then the boys stayed up and took photos under the Harbour Bridge. God knows how they managed to get there. But they took the trophy down, under the bridge, sort of Anthony Kiedis-like, and we're just taking photos and drinking on until 5 or 6. So I got a call then at 6 o'clock from Dan Christian saying, "Mate, we're at the cafe. Can you bring down Carlos Brathwaite's whiskey?" So I said, "Okay." I get my clothes, I go down. The boys have all got long blacks, and they requested I topped up their long blacks with whiskey. So that was the first parade, 6:30 the next morning into the drinking session, which is I think just finishing up now. So yeah, it's been an absolute humdinger. That's how you celebrate, with long blacks and Irish coffees. But yeah, no, it's been freaking cool. It's nice.
Was Jack Edwards there? Because he was in Dan Christian's
Oh
photo.
my God.
And he's your clubmate.
Oh my God.
Couple, I guess two-pronged question. Jack turned up for the quarterfinal against Fairfield for Manly. I didn't see Sock there. And he made 92. So was Jack there? Did he go all the way through?
Was he part of the Sixers group? Was he? I only sort of associate with the 11th. Yeah, I can't remember if he was or not. But mate, we watched it. That was okay. Did you watch any of that? He nearly run himself out 3 times, falling over in his first over. I can guarantee he had no sleep. And we got to the pub at Clavelli and we had it on our phones and we were just cheering this boy on. He got the 90 on. We're like, he's gonna make 100, become like elite. He's gonna become immortalised as one of the greatest Sixers ever. Not to mention as well, Ben Menenti, 3 for 40 off 10, rolled out for Sydney as well. I mean, if that's not superhuman, I'm not sure what is. So, I'd say you'd see Jack Edwards with the C next to his name at the Sixers in not too long a future. He's that good. So anyone can pull that off. But you won't see me in club colours for a while. You'll see me at club cricket with the medals. You can hear them. I'm clinking them. Can you hear me clinking them? That's it. They'll see me down at Manly Oval with my 3 medals. Definitely won't be playing, but I'll be running laps, running people through my none for 26 off 4 and drop catch. So turn up. Come along, boys. Come.
Just rolling down a Manly Oval with a baggy green shirt off with 3 BBL medals running there.
Don't give me ideas. It's amazing. I actually completely forgot that I had a baggy green, but of course I'm going to wear the baggy green. So.
Steve, that paints the picture. We're not going to do a deep dive into your junior career and us two facing off and stuff, which you remember so well. So we'll save that for another time. Thanks so much for giving us that insight, mate.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it. You literally just got me to the top of the cliff. The next week and a half is just going to be pure depression. So I'm glad I got to share that with you. Well, I cry myself to sleep and hide under my bed. So
brother,
appreciate it, boys.
Hey, the phone's on. The phone's always on. We can chat.
All right. Love you, man. Thanks for the call.
See you, mate.
Cheers, Sock. Wonderful to hear from Sock there. The great man. Pez, India-England is the biggest series. The question that's been posed and flooded in our DMs all week is Joe Root back in the big boys? Oh, he's back in the big boys, baby. Is there a bigger boy all of a sudden? Now, Pez, I want to caveat this at the very beginning. That's some of our more astute YouTube followers. We're doing a daily podcast for the India versus England series. So every single day, every single morning in Australia time, we're covering what happened the day before. 15-minute clips every single day. If you want to check it out, go to YouTube, search The Great Cricketer. You'll be able to find us and follow this series along with us there. However, in the meantime, so much to cover. Joe Root scored 1 million runs, and fuck me, he is smoking them.
Joe Root is dining at the big boys' table right now. And
yes.
as we have said on the daily, the big boys' table is his natural home.
That's right.
He left.
That's right. He went
for a little bit. And if you have heard this before, I apologise for repeating it. Dad left.
Dad left
the table. Dad went for a pack of cigarettes.
That's right.
And didn't come home for a couple years.
3 years.
And we missed him. We missed Papa.
Yeah.
But guess what? Papa came home. We don't need to ask no questions about Papa.
Papa don't preach.
And Joe Root is delivering the big boy runs that we all knew he could. And long may that remain until he comes here.
Pez, I'm not sure if you caught this. I tweeted the other day that I'm ready to welcome our new, in fact, old English overlords who have now who've usurped the Indian reign that they had for a fortnight. And it's all England from here on in. Let me tell you, I'm standing on my couch here. I'm singing Rule Britannia.
Really?
I'm doing all sorts. I'm on.
You're not saying it on the Indian YouTube show we're doing.
Well, is that for Indians? I thought it was for our English audience.
Well, yeah. A lot of people picking up what we're using in the titles and stuff like that, just saying India. As we broadcast this, is going into the last day.
That's
so
right.
There's nowhere to win for us. And what's the situation? I mean, England are in total historic and statistical control of the game.
Yeah.
And no one's willing to make a prediction because India's a line that could roar and we're scared of Rishabh Pant and the Gabba really hurt us.
Yeah. I mean, India need 420 to win on the last day. Sundar's at 7 though.
Yeah. India needs to do something that would actually outstrip the Gabba to win. And we're like, they can go 5-6 and over.
Now, I've seen this movie before, Pez, where India find themselves in a little bit of hot water, a little bit of trouble, and they don't lose the game or they win the game through some remarkable feats of individuality and also Rahane being the mafia boss that we all know deep down that he is.
I've seen that movie too. It was where one guy bats at one end for the draw and the other one bats for the win, and we've never seen it before and we can't put it in our Anglosphere thought process, and then they sort of win somehow, and you just get stuck in the tide of it about 20 overs out from it happening. Anyway.
And that movie, A Wonderful Life.
Sound of Music.
I haven't even seen that movie.
R.I.P. Christopher Plummer, Edelweiss.
Indeed, and that is also on the agenda. Now, I want to talk about Dom Best, Pez, if I may do it for a little bit. Now, obviously been doing this every single day, so I don't want to double up here. But fucking old cricket brains ruined me. But he's doing well. He did well in Sri Lanka. Gets a lot of wickets for some absolute dross that he's rolling out. But is he misunderstood?
Yeah. 100%.
Do you know what he reminds me of a little bit, mate? He reminds me a little bit of Nathan Lyon at the beginning of his career. He's a more aggressive bowler. He's definitely more aggressive, but you have to understand Nathan Lyon, I believe, in the context of what he does for the team and the other bowlers and stuff like that. And whilst he's going to be playing with Archer, Wood, Curran, Wokes, but of course at the moment Broad and Anderson. He's completely fine. He's completely serviceable on that team, and he can be developed into a good bowler because I think he's got some in terms of blokes who've got a bit about him. This bloke's got a bit about him, no doubt. Someone wrote on YouTube that he's too big, he's too barrel-chested to be an off spinner. But I'm not even sure what bodies mean anymore in the age of tall runs. And unfortunately, Zach Crawley didn't make it because he had a wrist injury in quarantine.
Do I need to be here?
Long old summer.
I'm enjoying it.
Long old summer.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all the time we got for today. My name's...
Hey, it's funny, isn't it? Everyone's like, oh, geez, lucky. Gee, picks up some lucky wickets. He's gone fifer, fourfer. Well, why does it keep happening?
Yeah.
He gives himself the opportunity. I love spinners that can pick up wickets with a little bit of shit. And quite often, the shit has still deceived the batter. So... go well, Dom Best, even if you do look a bit hench.
Well, again, it's a little bit hard for us to dissect properly given there's one day left and we're doing this every single day on YouTube. If you're more interested in that, go check it out. Okay, Pez, Pakistan v South Africa.
Yep.
Now, there's actually 3 awesome series that are happening at the moment.
Yeah. Really?
Pakistan, South Africa, Bangladesh, West Indies.
And great cricket on KO.
That's right. Historical matches, and I'm talking about Manly and Fairfield at Manly Oval. Historical matches being played. Pakistan have just won the series against South Africa for the first time in 2003. Some incredible achievements here. Hassan Ali's taken 10th for the match. Rizwan, 115. I reckon Rizwan's sneaking in. Now, you know my penchant, Pez, for an attacking wicket-keeper batsman. I've said in the past, Josh Butler, one of my favourite players to watch. Pant, of course. But I gotta say, Rizwan's fucking sexy up there for me. He's fucking good to watch.
Okay.
That's a good-looking batsman.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. I like that. I like that in me test cricket.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I don't even know what the takeaway is from Pakistan versus South Africa, other than like, how come more people don't care about it?
Yeah. It's because of the oligarchy of cricket.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what else. I mean, Pakistan's won the series. We've put in an interview request for Faf, and and the response wasn't lukewarm either. It was there was a skerrick of light shown there. So
it wasn't lukewarm.
Well, yeah, it wasn't a cool response. It was
Right,
sort of, the door was left ajar.
But
a
was
little
that
bit.
in the day when Australia were going there?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's got
And there's
time
got
now.
a bit more time now. Well, what's the problem then?
I don't know.
Yeah. So it could be a white whale landed.
When I think of Hassan Ali, who's taken 10 from this match, have you seen this footage where he it's in a T20, I think, because in his celebration he does like this thing,
Yeah.
like a X fucking whatever, and he threw his shoulder out doing that. Now his shoulder's taped up forever. You seen that footage?
I have seen that. That was there for a little while ago.
That's what I
wasn't it?
think of when I see Hassan Ali now.
Yeah.
Good bowler. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I said this last week. Like, so in that match, Nortje took fifer, and he's bowling wheels as well. I look at this. I look at the South African team. It's still good. It's such a shame that series ain't happening now in Australia, against Australia rather. It didn't say they offered to play that game in Perth.
Yeah, they did. And South Africa said no, would prefer to retain our own series on our own shores.
Yeah, I'm sure for commercial reasons as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure the complete ins and outs of it, but
Yeah.
Graham Smith wasn't that happy with CA's decision because they
spent all this
bent
money.
over backwards to
Yeah.
get it going, but CA decided that it wasn't really up to scratch. You probably have to take it. You just have to accept that on face value. I don't think that you can really point to too many conspiracies.
Really?
Some people might say, if it was another country, would they go?
England got the fuck out of there as soon as that broke out as well. As soon as that breakout happened in South Africa as well, because they were supposed to be playing there back in February. They played like one day or a T20 or something. They got out of there. It's really hard to know because fundamentally, like the most important thing is human life, right? And what you don't want is like these players going over there, getting infected, then coming home, getting infected and someone else, and someone dies.
Yeah.
Literally, someone's life is ended because we've got to get the second test on at Joburg. No, you don't. Like, you know what I mean? That's the ultimate
100%.
thing that you can rely on. But also at the same time, can't both things be true? Just like, hey, India's got the second most deaths in the world. You going to play there? Would have thought so.
Yeah.
I'm going to. Oh, definitely. Yeah. How many tests? 4. Go on then. Yep. Oh,
How many do you want?
How many do you want? Yeah.
Yeah.
4, 6, whatever.
Mate,
Yeah.
put your order in.
Couple of T20s in the end. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We can be pretty cynical on the show, but
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
cricket. I think they're not pulling out of South Africa for clandestine, cynical means. I think.
No, fair enough. Anyway, wonderful win for Pakistan. That's our coverage of that. Hey, Pez, you would have seen this.
For the first time.
you would have seen this for the Bangladesh West Indies. West Indies chasing 395 in the fourth innings. Chittagong, I believe.
Yeah.
7 down, 15 balls to spare. Historical, incredible victory. The West Indies completely depleted. They've got 85 guys playing T20 tournaments around the world. The T10 Dubai leg is kicking off as well.
Yeah. A couple of those one-on-one games you've seen on Facebook with Andre Russell. And, they're not eligible or available, but they're still.
You got Rohan Mustafa bowling with the backwards cap on. He's taking his shirt off at fine leg of the ball, runs past him. You've seen that footage as well on the internet. However, Kyle Myers, who's playing for the West Indies in his debut, he's got a first-class average of 28. I think everyone knows this by now, but he scored 210 in that chase. They chased 395 in the subcontinent. That is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I know.
And I guarantee that 99.5% of people listening to this will be like, exhale from the nose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good enough. Yeah, it was like, and there's still just that, instinctive inside kind of, but both sides are a bit on the nose, aren't they? They're not full strength, aren't they? This ain't the Windies of old. It's sad, isn't it? Wouldn't it be amazing if we did have that attitude towards these teams of like, this is some amazing stuff. This is great cricket. They're really good. They could take us on.
I've sort of like whizzed through all this, and I apologise for maybe skimming over some more in-depth issues, but like the point is that there is so much amazing cricket happening at the moment because of the condensed schedule and stuff, and there's cricket happening all over the world and fucking amazing games happening, and it's like, it just doesn't feel like the appreciation levels that there could be, and I feel like it kind of stems from like basically 3 teams having all the money for themselves. I think that's the root element of it.
Yeah.
Root. Playing wordplay myself, fucking idiot. Anyway, Joe Root back in the big boys, no doubt about that. Hey, Pez, Usman Khawaja, Steve O'Keefe, we always heard from Steve O'Keefe, and Marcus Harris on the show. Very much excited about that.
Hey, I just want to say congratulations to Roe Belinda too for going past 900 million YouTube views.
We went past 1 the other day.
Exactly. 900 million views for the King. And we bowed down.
We bowed down. We bowed down very much. Now, of course, Pez, all of our guests this year brought to you by Ponting Wines.
Indeed, they are.
Use the code GETAFEW to get 10% off the price of a case. It's pontingwines.com.au if you want to go check that out. We've said it many times in the past. Very enjoyable wines. Tis the seasons for it as well.
Well, I think James Vince was drinking a Ponting Wines Pinot Noir at about 6 a.m. under the Harbour Bridge.
Yeah, that's right. And full magenta.
Yeah.
Full
That's the
magenta.
Mowbray boy. That's the Pinot Noir. So I presume it was a hot Sunday morning.
Pontingwines.com.au. Use the code GETAFEW to get 10% off the price of a case. Highly recommend it. Here it is. Here is Usman Khawaja.
Well, here he is, skipper of the Thunder, skipper of Queensland, Australia's number 3 for the best part of a decade. And, well, as most people know him now, star of the Test on Amazon before he went missing. I'm kidding. It's your baller, Usman Khawaja. Uzi, welcome back to the Grey Cricketer.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me again. And not skipper of Thunder, Callum Ferguson, skipper of Thunder. You're better than that. What's going on?
I listened to his last interview. They said he was dumped, wasn't he?
Yeah. Poor fella.
I was just making a presumption. I'm ahead of myself. Well, was he just a
You
star?
just made that really awkward just there, so I'm going to let that one go.
Awkwardness works. I was going to get more awkward than that, man. You're like, I wasn't sure you would agree to this chat to kick off because, like, not just because people want to ask about what happened to their favorite character in the Test doco, but also because you launched a rival podcast called Kicking It with Khawaja. And so, like,
that's where you're wrong straight away. I'm going to stop you right there. It's not a rival podcast. It's not the same as the Great Cricketer. I love what you guys do. You know, I follow you on Instagram and I love your bands. I love the fact that you say things that we're all thinking, but everyone's afraid to say. I absolutely love it. So that's my favorite part of it. Not rival at all. I actually plans to get people from other sports too, not just cricket. It's a bit of everything. So I think of it as different. I think of it as a different little niche.
Just actually on that mold, I mean, you've met some amazing people through your, development in professional cricket. I'm thinking automatically Will Smith, that, the famous, Dazzy Jeff giving the handshake at the top. Saw Paul Pierce, the truth, coming in. I mean, who are some other amazing people that you've met in the professional sports realm or celebrity life?
I think you've just named the top two. Will Smith, the Fresh Prince. Honestly, I grew up watching that guy every day from school. Absolutely loved it. I was seeing every single episode. And every time that show's on, I can just mimic it. I loved that guy. Loved him afterwards. Movies, even his songs when he was younger. My brother used to have all his soundtracks, his albums, and then to finally get to see him, I was like, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. Grow some balls, was he? Walk up to him, talk to him, and I was like, sort of just looking at him from far because you're a bit starstruck. And I'm not, to be honest, I'm very rarely starstruck. Like I've met, obviously, I think we've had celebrities come in before, like, Hugh Jackman, the Wolverine came in Lords, and I wasn't starstruck by him. He's a legend, but I went up and talked to him. He's a legend of a guy. But this time when Will Smith, someone he looked at as a kid, I was like, I'm so glad I got the balls to go up to him. And I was like, can we do the Jazzy Jeff handshake? And he's like, yeah, sure. He just straight away just went, psh. And it was like, it was the best. It was one of my favorite, because 5 cricketing moments of my life, that's right up there in the top 5. Something you don't get to do. Oh, mate. I play all the time, but you don't get to meet Will Smith every day of the week. And for him to be right there at the right time, it was just, if you told young Uzi that he's going to meet Will Smith one day, he'd be so happy.
Mate, you seem like one of these guys, like an increasing number of guys who are quite honest about the fact that, like, cricket isn't every single thing in their life. Like, even as we're preparing for this interview, you said, look, I'm going to have the Super Bowl on in the background. It sort of got me thinking, is cricket even in your top 5 favorite sports?
It depends whether I'm scoring runs or not. Look, it's cricket. I've got a love-hate relationship. I think a lot of people do. I love the game, but it is one of the great testers. It is, I call it the leveler, just like life. I think it teaches you a lot by life, because sometimes things are going well and you're on top of the world and everything's going, and then suddenly it's just like bang, and it knocks you down. And it just doesn't happen once. It can happen over and over and over again. And I think that's where the love-hate relationship of the game starts. And it's one game that tests you mentally like no other game. And maybe, golf. I play a lot of golf too. And I'm pretty sure the guys who play professionally as golfers would probably say similar things. And, when you get that sort of those life lessons from cricket, you realize that, there's more to it than just the game. You can't be happy or sad when you're just scoring runs, and which was the case when I was younger. If I was scoring runs, I'd be happy, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't be happy, and I probably learned a lot of lessons from that growing up. So a love-hate relationship. It's probably the only game in the world where the guys are happy when it rains. Think of another game they're happy not playing. Like, you know what it's You've all been there. Anyone who's played cricket, it's the most bizarre thing. But I think it's more up here than anything else. The guys, you always have that fear of failure, no matter who you are. And then when it rains, you just relax and let your guard down a little bit. It's the only game. I say it all the time. It's such a bizarre thing, but it's true.
Yeah. We should have said this before we even got going, but you've obviously become a father recently for the first time. So congratulations. It's exciting for you. And we've seen just, recently Joe Root in the form of his life after, becoming a dad. I saw Virat Kohli's just had a kid as well. Kane Williamson, the same deal. So obviously expecting a similar trajectory of run scoring. So, I wonder, I wonder if being a father has sort of put cricket, in context for you in your life as you're talking about just there.
To be honest, I think I probably put cricket into context probably about 5 years ago when obviously the passing of Hughesy, he was a good mate for a lot of us. Put a lot of life in his perspective. And then literally 2 weeks after that, I blew my knee out and did my ACL, and I was out for 9 months for the game. And to have those two things happen right next to each other, I think that's what put things in more perspective than anything. And sometimes you forget about it. You get caught in the cricket bubble because cricket is life. Like, we love the game. As I said, we love the game. We hate the game, but I love the game. I love the game. So I want to do well, and I'm highly competitive, just like everyone else. And you want to win games, and you want to score runs. And then when both those things aren't happening, it can be pretty tough. So you've got to remember to then find that perspective again. So I'm, really big, as I've talked about before, about being mindful, trying to stay in the present as much as I can, because cricket, we put so much time and effort into it. It can take you away from it a little bit. Start worrying about losing games performances, as I mentioned earlier. So the perspective I had 5 years ago with obviously the two things I talked about, that probably was the biggest thing. And I always try to find my way back. And Rachel, my wife, is always really good at that. She can normally see when things are slipping a little bit. She always brings me back a little bit. I pray a fair bit. I play golf. I've got lots of things in my life that I like to come back to try to even it out, whether, as I said earlier, whether I'm scoring runs or not scoring runs, winning games or not winning games. I try to not let the cricket be the end all and let it dictate my life to a way, even though sometimes it can, because we love the game. We take it seriously.
Sounds very sensible. Like you just mentioned the bubble earlier. How's it been trading like precious months with your family, including your dog LeBron, for months inside various hotels, listening to Sam Billings talk about his dad's alleged helicopter?
Has Bilbo been on this show before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. I'm glad he has, because I didn't want to sledge him if he hadn't been on there before. I actually asked him. He was funny. I really got along well with Bilbo. And all this time, I never really met him, but all I heard, as he said, about his helicopter and his family, and I sort of like just work my way into it. We sort of got into like this really good conversation, and I've had some really good conversation with Bilbo. He's got a lot of good perspective on life and cricket. But it just sort of, we got into this conversation. I just came out with it straight away, went straight to his family. So are you loaded or not? And he was like, whoa, he's like taken back a little bit by it. But the way he handles himself, you would never know where, what his background, what his family is, because he's such a down-to-earth bloke. That's the most important thing. And the fact that I had to ask him that question, I think speaks more for him than anything else.
Yeah. Another English guy who sort of dominated the BBL this year. In fact, I think he actually was the second MVP or second rated in the Big Bash this year. Alex Hales, am I right in saying? Did he come second in the yeah?
He did well. He
did well. Hits a clean ball. Clearly, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about him getting back into the England setup. If his performances warrant that. I mean, the question that we all want to know is, I mean, how loose is he?
Big Bass. I think he might have been a lot looser than he is now.
Right,
he's pretty straight. He's pretty down the line now. He's also a legend, the bloke, and I think someone has matured a fair bit. Big Bass. I always make fun of him because he's got, if you see old photos of him, he's clean skin. He's all like got this like image. Now he's got the tats on him and all this. And I'm like, you're straight away, you're 10% tougher if you have tats. And he's like, yeah, I am. I know. We have a joke about it all the time. Like, see, for me, I always say, if a bowler bowls me, I cover drive and smack him for 4. The bowler's like, yeah, okay, it's 4. If someone bowls to him and he cover drives him for 4, they're like, oh shit, look at those tats. Yeah, this guy's scary. He's coming at me. It's just that intimidating factor that he's got about him now. I think it's elevated his game at least 10%.
I think you do really well to like paint a picture of what the modern player is like, and it always like contrasts with players of old. Like, there's that famous one from a couple of years ago where you're commentating on, I think it's a T20 international or something. And like you say, the game's changed a bit in the last 10 or so years. You sometimes feel like there's a disconnect between what the players are trying to achieve and what the outside world or traditionalists or former players are seeing. And you were just talking about that in relation to sweeps and paddles, like in the game. But like how, can you tell us like how much does that idea extend to life and cricket beyond that? Like do you feel like there's a disconnect between former players and the way the older generations do it and the sort of newer style player or what?
There is a disconnect in the guys, I guess, to some extent who have played T20s and haven't. I mean, I played one day. The one day is obviously just like a lot of the older guys played a lot of one days, but it's not the same game as T20. The strategy is different. The pressure is a little bit different. How you're trying to score runs is a little bit different. I mean, it's not easy being, obviously anyone's been out in the middle of a T20 game. It's a very different beast. And when, as a batsman, you hear a lot, just stand there and play good shots, but it's not that easy. Like, it's like we have a running joke with the boys at Queensland when, you're trying to set a total on day 4 and they're like, oh, boys, yeah, just get 7 and 8 without taking a risk. And you're like, how do you do that? Like, I don't think that's entirely possible. That's the same way T20 cricket. It's very hard to score at 10s without taking calculated risks. There's only some days where you can go out and just blast everything. It comes out of the middle and you miss all the fielders somehow and you're just on fire. But that doesn't happen every day. So that's where the innovation comes a little bit into it, and you're trying to work out the game. And then you have to take calculated risk. And the thing with this, I say this to my wife all the time, but she doesn't get it either. So when you take a good risk, like hitting a big 6 and it comes off, it looks so easy. You do the same thing, it doesn't come off, and you sky one in the air, you're like, oh, why are you doing that? It's, it's all about the execution. So obviously, we were talking about Baz before earlier, Alex Hales. He did it beautifully. He made it look easy. But I'm telling you, being on the other end, he was taking a lot of calculated risks in his innings. He was hitting the ball over top. One of them shanked away. He was out, but he was actually just hitting the middle of the bat all the time. So, I mean, extremely quality player. When you're going like he was, you got to cash in because it's not an easy game. You can actually get caught out a little bit when you aren't scoring runs. So, to your question earlier, I think, if there's an opportunity in England, he's obviously made a couple of mistakes in the past, but he's a legend of a bloke. We love having him with Thunder, and I'd love to see him in the English side too.
Do you reckon it's like a double-edged sword being a player that's kind of come into the Aussie setup or the national setup, like kind of 10 years off the back of basically one of the greatest, if not the greatest team of all time, And so these guys are still kind of in charge of Australian cricket or have a lot of power in Australian cricket, and perhaps their openness to like the game evolving or different ways of players doing things or being is a bit harder for them to kind of open themselves to, and that the way they did it is kind of the way to do it. Is that something players in your cohort have to deal with, or do you feel like it's that actually some of them are quite open to new ways of doing stuff?
Some are, some aren't. Look, I've got so much respect for the guys that came before us. Honestly, it doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't really matter how they carry on to. If they're commentators and I don't particularly agree with them at times, I still have a lot of respect for the past players. So, they've done obviously great things for the game. They scored runs. But as I said, there's some that sort of evolve and try to learn about the game and watch the game a fair bit. And then you can tell that others that don't do that as much. You can tell by the way they talk that they just haven't stayed in touch with the game as much. And I'm a big believer that the game has never gone backwards. I mean, I watch footage from 30 years ago. I watch footage from 20 years ago. I love watching old footage. I'm always watching old footage, whether it's on Fox Sports or, on YouTube, looking at old Benson Hedges Series 1 days. The game has evolved. The game has got better. The game has gotten better from 10 years ago. And then even when I stop playing, whenever that is, the game will get better 10 years after I retire. I'm a realist. The game's not going to go backwards. It gets better all the time. And I think sometimes the older players think the game hasn't gotten better and they're stuck in this. I don't know what game, sporting event in the world which hasn't gotten better. You look at athletics, running, swimming, anything, basketball, the game has changed. The game's got better. Take basketball for an example. No one used to shoot threes 20, 30 years ago. Now that's pretty much the game. You have to be able to spread the ball. If you're not, you just don't win these days. So the game has improved in cricket from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and I'm a realist. I'm sure I laugh all the time. Like kids will be looking at Usman Khawaja and going, oh, look at that idiot play. Look at that technique. What's he doing there? They'll do the same thing. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. And I'm a realist and I understand that'll happen. So hopefully when I start playing, I'll stay in touch with the game. I'll watch a lot of, I think I will because I love the game and hopefully try to stay in touch with it as much as possible. But you mentioned, like, to be honest, first name that comes to my name, Ricky Ponting, hasn't probably played for about 10 years now, but he's in touch with the game. When I talk to him about cricket, he knows exactly what's going on, what teams are trying to do, how to bowl to certain players, what T20 cricket is about. And that's from a guy who hadn't played a lot of T20 cricket either. So you can tell he watches a lot of cricket and he loves the game. And I think, those kind of things really stick out.
You're talking there about, basketball, especially, and on the great YouTube program, Hot Ones. I'm not sure if you've across that one on YouTube. But there's a segment there called "Explain That Gram," and I was just going through some of your social media history, as is my want, and I do them both weeks, to be fair. August 13 last year, you posted a photo of you batting in a Rodman Bulls jersey. Can you please explain that? And did you go to Vegas during the BBL finals?
I can't explain that. I used to love the Bulls as a kid, and I think I got that jersey about 4 or 5. I got three jerseys, so I just got the Pippen, Rodman, Jordan collection as I would about 5 years ago when I was on this like extreme jersey hunt. I was signing all. I've got this old Hakeem Olajuwon jersey which I haven't bought out. I've got all these jerseys just sitting in my room which I haven't bought out. So I had a bit of a jersey fetish, and that's all it was. And it was a trial match, practice match. And everyone takes it too seriously. I remember we had 2 separate teams. I think Joey Burns was on the other team. He's always straight down the line, Joey. So we were like, oh, what are we wearing tomorrow? And I was just looking, I'm like, I was captain of one team. And I think maybe Jim Pearson's captain of the other. But I was like, I reckon our team might wear basketball jerseys, actually. Like, he's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, why not? He's like, you have to wear proper cricket shirts. I'm like, why? It's a practice game. He's like, no, you have to wear cricket. And they just wanted me to do it more. So I'm like, no, we're all wearing basketball. Everyone's coming in basketball jerseys tomorrow. So all our team wore basketball jerseys and all his team were like the old traditionalists wearing collared shirts. So that's where it happened. That's how it happened.
Yeah. I love the idea that like American sports just seem to be cooler generally. I know you're a big Westbrook guy as well. But I also, there's a great photo going around talking about jerseys. There's you, Zampa and Steve Smith in Times Square. And you're all wearing the Australian ODI like canary yellow kit. I mean, talk about cool. Zampa's wearing black shoes, of course he is. Was that the coolest moment of your life?
I'd be embarrassed, but the fact was no one knew who the hell we were anyway, so it didn't make a difference. People dress up at Times Square all the time. You got some random Spider-Man, so people thought we were probably like bananas in pajamas or some shit like that. I don't know. Honestly, no one even looked twice at us. I mean, it was embarrassing when I first. I'm like, we can't be walking around here in an Aussie kid. We look like wankers, and then we were walking, and no one was looking at us twice. I'm like, this must be normal in New York. We're fine. So, it's something that not many people can say. They walk through Times Square in their Aussie kit, full kit wanker. I did it. Thank you very much.
Bucket list tick. You're talking about Queensland stuff earlier, Aussie, and I'm just thinking there's just a debate going on at the moment. I'm just thinking on the one hand, you've played 44 tests, 154 first-class matches, 12,000 runs all up. You have a bachelor's degree in aviation, qualified pilot. You got your own foundation looking after youth, refugee, immigrants, Indigenous, rural, remote. Help there through education, and you're the captain of Queensland. And on the other hand, Marnus is younger, and because Cummins is a bowler, maybe Marnus can be Aussie captain, so he should be Queensland captain. So we're that's why I pretty much see the debate. Do you feel Marnus down your neck?
Old toilet burrito Marnus, eh? Actually, he's just toasty Marnus. He's toasty Marnus at the moment, isn't he? He's upgraded from top. He's upgraded. Hogpile, Hog. We have called him Hog a few times too. So he's gone for. He's got more nicknames than anyone in the world, for the right reason. He puts it on himself, doesn't he? He actually. It's so funny when I saw that toasty thing. JL didn't mention any names at the start, but I was straight on the text and I was like, "That is 100% you." And he was like, yeah, of course it was me. Who do you think it was? And I was just in stitches. I knew straight away. That's Marnus right there, old toasty gate. So, no, look, he's a terrific player. I get along with him really well. But I think there's, at the moment he's playing such good cricket. Everything's going well. I'd be mindful of not putting too much on his plate. I also think there's more to captaincy than just scoring runs. And he's young. He's developing. He's maturing, but I think there's still a bit left in him in terms of a leadership role. But who knows? Maybe further down the track, he can be Aussie captain. I mean, if he's playing the way he is consistently for a long period of time, number one and foremost is you lead from the front and you gain respect from the field. So if he's doing that for a long time, who knows? But at the moment, I think you'd like him to just keep scoring runs.
We're trying to figure out more about these Indian players after they've just completely, decimated Australian cricket for the next century or so. And also we're trying to buy beach houses. And you obviously played in the IPL in 2016 for Pune. And you actually captured your contribution to that tournament by posting a photo of Adam Sandler's Waterboy. So while you were there, Ajinkya Rahane was there, who obviously captained magnificently for India during the series just here. Can you tell us a little bit about Jinx? What's Jinx Rahane about?
Jinx Rahane he's literally just a normal everyday bloke. He's a really nice guy. He's a good cricketer. He ran me out in the second game. I still haven't forgiven that second game of my IPL. He ran me out. I'm still blowing up about that. I was smacking him at Bangalore. It's the flattest wicket in the world. I think I was on about 15 off about 5 rocks or something. I was on fire and then he ran me out. I haven't forgiven him for that. But other than that, he's an absolute legend. He's so nice. You can't get angry. Honestly, you can't stay angry at him. Yeah. And that's him. What do you see on the field? He seems like a really nice, he's got great sportsmanship, just genuine bloke. He is exactly like that off the field. Some guys just, honestly, I can't offer you much because he's so down the line. He's just such a good bloke.
That's what I'm trying to figure out because we say about the New Zealand players as well. There's got to be some skeletons there because they're so nice.
Yeah, the New Zealanders, we call them the fake nice guys. So Milne, Adam, we call him Milne, but Alan Milne was at Thunder. Yeah. And he was like, it's the New Zealand, the nice guy. And he was, the first 2 weeks he was there and I was chipping away at him, trying to get him to buy and all this stuff. And he bit a couple of times. And then after 2 weeks, the real Milne came out. He was like trying to bite back and he was firing up. He's blowing up on the field. And I'm like, man, you New Zealanders are all the same. You're all fake nice guys. You're like, yeah, I'm all nice. I'm New Zealander. And then when the cameras are off, you're blowing up at something, you're sledging someone. I said, and I like that. And I like that because you can't all be like, you don't trust someone too nice. You can't trust him.
Can't trust him.
You can't trust him. So,
I mean, as we all know, like cricket's not about runs and wickets. It's about, what's he like as a bloke. That's pretty much the main thing we're interested in. So like, I'm just thinking about the test now. And like on the one hand, you got JL, saying about you, like we've got enormous respect and love for each other. Like I put that out not to disappoint anyone, keeps coming back. All the boys are on eggshells and stuff. And then on another view, like you made these comments and the next scene could have just been a black screen saying RIP Usman Khawaja. He was never seen again. So like, JL, what's he like as a bloke? If you had your time again, would you have said those things?
Yeah, 100%. I think honestly, we get along really well. I get asked this all the time. Yeah. We get along. We actually do get along really well. People see, but you got to remember what you see. I haven't seen the text documentary, but I've heard a bit of like what's obviously there when it happened. You only see a bits of what's happened. Like it's hard to get context. I mean, you get some of the context, but then you wouldn't have seen the conversation I had with him the next day. Or the one that happened in Dubai, that was only a snip. The actual blow-up was a lot better, to be honest, too. I've seen that snippet, and the actual blow-up was a lot better than that. It was a big one. It went for about 5 minutes. But literally, he came after, we had lunch after that, and he came and sat down next to me, and we chatted after that, and we were fine. So I actually think JL respected me more because I spoke to him, honestly, and he knew that I wasn't talking shit behind his back or whinging or anything. I always just went up to him and just chatted to him. I think that actually helped me. At the end of the day, there's a lot more to selection than, what meets the eye. There's a bit happening. Unfortunately, I got dropped after the Headingley test match, which was my last test match. And what a, shit fight that was in the last day. Stokesy doing what he did. We lost a test match we should have won. Unfortunately, someone had to be dropped, and at the time it was me. That we won that test match, I don't think I would have been dropped, and things could have happened differently. But I'm not really in the belief of ifs and buts. I just think things happen the way they happen, and that's the way it's meant to be. But to your old question, me and JL get along well. He's an intense bloke. There's no denying that. But I know what he's like. I think the guys know what he's like, and I think the only reason that these issues are coming up now is because we lost to India. That's the main issue. And at the same time, we're allowed to lose against India. I mean, we're playing test match cricket here. Yes, we have a really good record against them, but I mean, what's the point of playing test matches if the other team can't beat you? I mean, that's the whole point of test matches. Now, I guess the big question is we got to do the same thing in their backyard, which we haven't been able to do for a long time. So, and we have done that before. So, that's Test cricket.
Hey, it was interesting, Uzi, there you're talking about Headingley, and when we're talking to Pana, our close personal friend Ricky Ponting, he was saying that he gets asked about
Good name drop. Good name drop.
Yeah. I can't Pana, but people probably know who that is. Yeah. And he was just talking about how the 2005 Ashes series, he gets asked about that all the time, and it's obviously a series that he lost. But I think a lot of those guys who played in that series have sort of come around to the sort of point of view that I'm really glad that I got to be a part of that. I mean, I wonder if you have got there yourself, maybe that part of that Headingley test, not because it's obviously the last test that you've played so far in your career, but just that monumentous occasion of how amazing that test match actually was. I guess what I'm asking is, how do you feel about the test match now?
Nah, shit test match. What are you talking about? We should have won that, Tal. It still kills me. Nah, not at all. I wanted to win that test match really badly. Honestly, it was an unbelievable innings. He put pressure on us. He put pressure on Painey as a captain. I think Painey learned a bit about, how that strategic wise, at least from that, being in the same position there again. Even having that DRS, calling for that DRS, and the ball was way down leg, that was a panic decision. And that can happen. That's the pressure of Test cricket. It can get anyone. So I think all credit to Stokesy. That's an innings you're not going to see an innings like that for a very long time. So no, it wasn't one of those ones yet. Well, maybe in my end of my career, it might be. At the moment, it's still, we should have won that Test match. It's really frustrating we didn't.
Yeah.
And then we've had the India series, and like throughout the series, there was opportunities there, for a middle order bat, for an opening bat. So many of our guys, including yourself, are stuck away playing in the BBL. It's hard to put your hand up, to be the guy scoring runs to knock on that door. I note that, you were the emergency replacement for the now postponed South Africa tour. Where's your head at in relation to the Australian side? How much more juice is in the tank for Uzi?
There's still juice left. I'm still really motivated to play for Australia. I want to play Test cricket again, but I'm not going to do it unless I score runs in Shield cricket and do well for my team. And I think the motivation right now is all we have is Shield cricket. So, I'd love to win a Sheffield Shield. I've been involved in 2 teams that have won Sheffield Shields, but I've been away for Australian duty, so I've missed the opportunity to actually be in a Sheffield Shield winning side per se. I'd love to do that. And if I'm doing that and I'm contributing for Queensland, I'm scoring, I'll give myself the best chance to be selected again for Australia. I felt like I was really close this time, but, who knows what can happen in 8 months' time is probably when the next Test series is. I think back in Australia, a lot can happen between then. I'm still very motivated. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to do extras. I'm trying to do the things I need to do that I feel like I need to do to perform my best. And if I do that and it happens, awesome. And if it doesn't, at least I can say I did everything that I could do. And that's all you can really do as a player.
Uzi, thanks so much for your time, mate. I know you got to get back to the Super Bowl. I think Tampa Bay is sort of running away with it, but you got to watch that. It's one of my favorites.
I was going to watch it. I saw the exact same thing. It was a drubbing. So I'm like, nah, I don't need to watch it anymore. back to the NBA. I'm one of those NFL guys anyway. Just watch the Super Bowl. I don't watch anything else in the season. Just watch the Super Bowl. But the NBA, at least I watch it. So yeah.
All right. Cheers, Uzi.
Fake fan. Cheers, boys.
Wonderful to hear from Usman Khawaja, the most centered, reasonable, intelligent person that I've spoken to. Perhaps on this podcast. Wise, man. Wise, yeah. Pez, of course, we've said this many times in the past. However, this show would not exist without our dear friends at Budgie Smuggler, budgiesmuggler.com.au if you want to use the code CHAMP for free shipping on their products. Get around them. Now, we said this ages ago. Masks are here to stay in one form or another for a long period of time. You can get your custom designed masks at budgiesmuggler.com.au, and you can also use their designs as well. They got so much on their website.
Look good, play good, feel good. Pretty simple. In fact, you could even put that on a mask.
You could even put Tim Payne open the bowling in a grade game.
And was he wearing a sweater as well?
Yeah, it was cold.
Long sleeve. He's looking big, Tim Payne. He's
thickening up.
He's got a bit of thickness around the trunk and the shoulders. Yeah, obviously the skin folds are fantastic.
Without doubt.
On Payne.
Goes without saying.
And I didn't need to say it. I've wasted some words saying that.
But not that bit explaining what you just wasted.
Tim Payne, long sleeve, University of Tasmania, top, bowling with a new white rock, and maybe look good, play good, feel good. Could be on the design of your mask. Niche.
That is niche.
Niche.
Hey,
but-
I also saw, I'm 99% sure it's a budgie design, but Marnus Labuschagne was playing for the Brisbane Heat, and he had like a custom design Australia. It was like green, but with like gold stars on it. So just even though let the people know at the Brisbane Heat club level that he's an Australian player,
Of course.
and exhibit that with a face mask. That's the way to do it now.
yeah.
They're doing it all sorts, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've seen them many times in the past as well, especially in the subcontinent. Lots of players smuggling. They're wearing the budgie smugglers themselves. Custom design. We've seen Ben Stokes smuggling in the past.
Well, we've had a listener write in, Matt Taylor, said, Budgie Smugglers kept me COVID-free.
That's right.
In Trump-era USA, no mean feat, and keeps my face warm on the slopes over here. Free shipping and arrived in 2 days.
How come he read... Does he work for Budgie? Because it reads like he reads like that was a read.
Yeah, Matt Taylor's a pretty common name, I guess.
So he's someone set up a burner account and sent a photo of themselves into it. No, we appreciate you, Matt. That is, of course, budgiesmuggler.com.au. Use the code CHAMP for free shipping. And now here he is, the man in the show, Marcus Boogie Harris.
All right. Last week, we spoke to one Australian test opener, but we thought, let's get the incumbent test opener in. Let's get the one who played last. Yeah. 10 tests, 100 first-class matches, already a couple of shields to his name. 2 different states, records everywhere there. We've never had him on the pod before. It's long overdue. And he's been kind enough to pop into TGC Towers, a.k.a. Higo's apartment. Welcome to the Great Cricketer Pod, Marcus Harry Harris.
Hey, boys. How you going?
Good. Can we call you Harry? Is it
Yeah,
Harry?
you can call me whatever you want.
Really?
Well, maybe not whatever you want, but you can call me Harry.
I don't know what else I'd call you.
Yeah.
I don't have
All
much
right, Dick, a couple of questions.
Get in trouble for calling people dickheads.
Oh, yeah,
That's it,
shit,
yeah. Harry, then this is your first time, so let's go where it all begins. You've got pedigree at some pretty big time grade clubs. So here in Victoria, it's St Kilda, an esteemed club, and at WA, Scarborough. And we hear a lot about Scarborough these days because that was JL's club.
Yeah.
And we're both from Sydney. There's sort of a respect for WA cricket because it's also a bit of an alpha state. A lot of sun, big blokes, big units. And you're at Scarborough, which we've all heard of. So can you just take us into the belly of the beast of Scarborough Cricket Club and your story there?
Well, yeah, we are a bit of an alpha club in Perth. When I was coming through, I think we'd won... I was lucky enough to play in the 4th premiership. We won 4 flags in a row. So we're sort of the hunter club a little bit. But, yeah, like you said, we had a pretty rich history. JL's probably the main man that's been there, come through the club, and everyone's pretty proud of. Not sure about big blokes. We're probably 2 of the smaller blokes. But, obviously a great ground down near the beach.
Stoiners, Theo Doropoulos.
Theo. Who else is there? A lot. Bo Casson played there for a while.
Okay.
We had some good players, and some big rigs, some good tans.
Good. Every club needs that.
Yeah, when Stoiney was there, obviously we're similar sort of shape. I'm
right.
pale, little, not exactly ripped, and he's big, ripped Greek bloke, so it's pretty good watching us 2 open the batting. But it was a great club. It was a great environment to be in, and lucky to be a part of it as a young bloke before moving over here.
Yeah.
And then St Kilda, how does it compare?
Well, coming to Melbourne, I was unaware of the St Kilda sort of whole thing. The only reason I ended up playing there was because I was mates with Michael Beer. So coming to Melbourne, I just sort of said, who should I play club cricket for?
That's how it works, right? So you play for WA. You've made we'll talk about this, the youngest guy to make 150 in state cricket at the time. And you make a very big move to Victoria, which again we'll talk about. And so when it comes to lining up a club, it's just like you just ask a mate, who should I play for? And what do you do? Like, do you call someone and go, oh, hey, Marcus here?
Well, I was like, I didn't...
Hey, it's Harry.
I know, mate. Your name comes up on my phone. Yeah.
Well, I was like, not to talk club cricket down, but I didn't come over to play club cricket, so I wasn't really high on my agenda. So I just
talk it down.
Yeah. I was like,
we love getting cut.
just win multiple flags in different states for clubs.
I just spoke to Beery. I was like, oh, who do you play for? And he's like, St Kilda. Maxi Klinger was at WA at the time, and he was from St Kilda. So I was like, righty, I'll come play at St Kilda. I don't know anyone in Melbourne, so I'll just come play with you.
I've heard of that place in Melbourne.
And then I had as soon as I signed for Victoria, had Merv Hughes ring me saying, do you want to come play at Footscray? He's like, I was like, nah, I'm playing for St Kilda. He was like, those fucking wankers. So it was like, and I copped that about 3 times. I was like, geez, they must be very well liked. So that's literally how I ended up at St Kilda. Little did I know it was a bit of a mafia down there.
So you don't do like the horse trading. Like we've spoken to guys who, again, off air, and they're like, they have a coffee with the club president, at a Sydney club, and what can you offer me? Oh, X per game. Oh, we'll give you,
which car will you give me?
Half an apartment with a rented car for 4 games. You don't do that horse trading.
Well, I think you got to be careful as a interstate player coming to a new state. If you go and want to get paid or horse trade for club cricket, you're probably obliged to play every weekend. So if you're not under any financial pressure to play for them, you can sort of have the odd weekend off here and there.
Smart.
I just want to flag this. There's one player in the international setup who I believe has changed states recently and has not declared for a club yet, which would be the first player to play for Australia who literally doesn't have a grade club at the moment.
Who's that?
It doesn't matter. Let's just wait. I'd need the season to finish first.
Test side?
That will narrow it down if I.
It could be Will Bukowski. It could be Will Bukowski. He never plays club cricket.
Oh, he was out at Melbourne. He was out at Melbourne
Yeah, but he
last
never
week.
plays.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Now Pez mentioned there, you scored 150 odd for Western Australia. You were 18. So I'm just kind of get a gauge of at what stage you're going to play for Australia. Probably the answer is 3 years old. But I'm guessing that you weren't picked out of threes for WA. Like what I'm asking is when did you first play first grade?
12.
Well, no, I was a bit of a late bloomer.
No, you scored 150 at 18.
Yeah, but
it was literally the youngest guy.
But it all happened a bit.
I'm 34 and I can still make it. All right.
It all happened a bit quickly. Like when I never played any under 15s or 17s for WA.
Right. Okay.
And then once I turned 16, so my second year of under 17s in club cricket. So in WA, it's a bit different to Melbourne. All the premier sides have junior sides.
Yep.
Whereas they don't have that over here. So in my second year, 16, I think I made 10 hundreds after Christmas, and then it all started moving pretty quickly.
You scored 10 hundreds after Christmas.
Yeah.
How many games is that?
It wasn't many. I scored, I don't know. I think I went to Christmas in under 17s. I had about 130 runs in 7 or 8 games, and I finished the season with like 760 runs or something. And then I went to a school. I went to Kent Street Cricket School, so we had a cricket program.
Yeah.
And I made 500 or 600s for them, and then it all just started happening pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I made 100 in under 17s in the morning, and then drove to second grade in the afternoon, got 100 in the afternoon. So then that's when it all started to accelerate a little bit. And then my official debut in first grade was that year as well. The WA, the state side, had a tour game against England. So we had a lot of domestic players in our club side.
Yeah.
Like rookie contractor blokes. So they all went and played 1 week, and I'd actually debuted for Scarborough with JL actually. But unfortunately we only bowled, so I didn't get a hit. Then I officially debuted the next year, batted at 7 and got a golden duck, which was good. And then our coach actually came up to me and said, "Rightio, Harry, you're going to open the batting. We'll just chuck you in the deep end, see if you sink or swim." So in the next 4 or 5 games, I think I got 3 50s and 100.
Yeah.
And then got picked in the Futures League.
Yep.
So I was 18 then.
Yeah.
So I actually played Futures League before I played any junior state stuff for WA.
Yeah, okay, right.
That's why I was saying it's sort of a bit of a different, bit of a late bloomer sort of thing. And then got 60 or 70 on debut that year against New South Wales, which had quite a good side in the Futures League back then. And then I got offered, I was 17 then, and I got offered a rookie contract. I was over in England playing down in Taunton and got a contract, and then sort of came in, went well in the Futures League at the start of that year when I was 18.
Yeah.
And then WA was sort of going through a transition of bringing younger blokes in. I was lucky to be there. So played the last 4 games of the season.
A common story.
It's
He started scoring heaps of runs.
It's a well-trodden path. I scored 100 in the morning, then played a different game, scored 100 in the afternoon.
Got to first grade, and I just kept making hundreds all the way through to the Australian team.
Hey, do you play much club cricket now for St Kilda? You playing much at all?
I reckon I've been here for 5 years. I would have played 10 games, I reckon.
Okay. How seriously would you take it when you go back to?
No, I want to do well, but I just don't perform very well. I don't know why, but
now the reason I'm asking is, so you've seen Tim Payne bowling in the first grade final for Tassie. I mean, how does he roll him out in the nets when he's in the Australian games? Pretty well.
Well, I've never seen him bowl, so I was surprised to see that he was bowling yesterday. But fair play to him. It looked like he bowled seam up and spin as well. So looked like he's got all the tricks. And did he keep?
No, that's why he was bowling. The club keeper's actually a better keeper than Payne, so that's why they did that.
Well, fair enough then.
And if you got to represent St Kilda in a first grade final, would you sit there in the change room and say, like, I'll just take the new rock and play for Australia?
I'd roll you, boys.
I'd love to take the new rock, but I think our 35-year-old opening bowlers probably want a piece of it. So No, I hate bowling. I bowled 9 overs in a Shield game last year. I reckon that might be the last time I ever bowled.
I think I know why you started scoring all those hundreds when you were 15 or 16, because I learnt that your late nana, who you had a great relationship with, would give you $20 for every 100 you hit from age 15. So when you were 15, it says here you hit 1100s in a season. And then she kept it going while you're in Shield cricket. But I'm just thinking, at 15 years of age, you've pocketed $220 there, which isn't bad going. Like, what did you do with that money?
Yeah, what did you spend it on?
Did you invest it or?
Well, if I was 15 or 16, I assume it was every morning on the bus, train to school, would stop at the train port and probably buy 6 bloody chicken nuggets or whatever and a bottle of Coke or something.
It is expensive, though.
Yeah. I haven't got the money anymore, that's for sure. Yeah.
It's actually more than what Steve Smith gets, because he gets an ice cream when he scores 100.
I thought he got a mattress. Didn't he?
Indeed. If we can sort of skip ahead to your Test career, Harry, you played 10 tests.
10.
Is that 10 tests? Is that right? And you've played India at home twice, played England away. Are you looking at those tests and you're like, I wouldn't mind Pakistan at home here, boys? You know, just like you've had to face some pretty decent bowlers in tough conditions and like sort of thrown into the team a little bit a couple of times. You know, when the momentum of a series is already, commenced.
Well, the first series, like looking at it in hindsight, my 10 tests have probably been against 2 of the better sides.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because it sort of started probably 3 times in those 10 tests. So that's where I think sometimes you can look at stats and be like, might not be doing as well as what he should be doing or whatever. But sometimes you have a bit of different perspective on it. But especially that first series was tough with everything that had gone on with the boys that were missing out. So that was fortunate enough that opened a position up for me. But we didn't have a whole heap of experience in that side. So that was a bit of a steep learning curve. But it was good to have a good series against probably the number 1 side in the world then, and probably still are now. But and then England, England was a different beast over there altogether to playing here. But it's been really good learning experiences just to sort of go through. I sort of feel fortunate that I'm still only 28 and I've been through those sort of things now. So I think that'll hold me in good stead. Hopefully, if I can get a good crack at it and have a good amount of games in a row, I think those previous experience will hold me in good stead going forward. I think that's the hardest thing is with Test cricket, and as it should be, there's not a whole lot of room for error. So, like, if you have a couple of bad games, like, you're under the pump. So, and obviously you're in the best 11 in the country, so that's fair enough as well. But I think, like you say, if you can invest time into people, they can sort of pay the dividends, can pay back later on. So I'm hoping, so it's a long time to the next Test match now. So there's a lot of water to go under the bridge, but I feel like I'm in a good position now as I'm getting older to be able to, hopefully solidify my spot.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the different environments players have to survive and thrive in, even from like team to team. So it's really well trodden story that you're at WA. You leave WA, which is coached by JL. He makes a comment that everyone's heard, mediocre with flashes of brilliance, played 40 games, just scored 4, you don't need me to say this, scored 4 centuries. Our program's not for everyone. And then literally like the next year, you're the leading run scorer in the Shield. You made 100 in the final, which you won, straight into the Aussie side, breaking records and stuff. Like, there's so much talk in cricket about just talent and ability. I know Greg Chappell says, if you're good enough, you'll rise to the top. But even that story kind of confirms to me that environments matter, and like you can have one player in the wrong environment who won't realise their potential, and the right player in the right environment will absolutely soar. So has that been your experience as well, that your environment really matters for the way you play?
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, it was a mixture of things. I remember being back in WA, and that was into my 6th season, and I had a personal coach that I trained with a lot named Richard Daly. And he'd been my coach at Scarborough, and I was in under 15, so we'd had a really close relationship. And he was sort of encouraging me that he sort of saw that each year at WA would sort of be the same story. It'd be 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and it could never quite find a way. And he wasn't sort of pushing me to move from WA the team, but he was sort of saying you need to try and find a way to, try and work things out for yourself for a little bit. And especially as a young bloke, when you have someone so big and like a big presence like JO and a big personality, you look to him for reassurance all the time. So that was good, but in a way, when I was out there playing, I couldn't always work it out for myself a lot. So like I was like, rightio. Got to Christmas, I'd sort of been in and out the Shield sign again, and I was like, fuck this. I was like, I need to do something different. So I rang my manager and I said, can you have a sniff around, see if there's anything that sort of will come up? I'm keen to look for something different. So luckily, the Victorian opportunity came up. And those things are always a really good idea till you actually have to do it and move and actually play for another state. So I was shit myself coming over, coming to Melbourne from Perth. Knew a few people here, but like nothing major. And I was going to be living by myself. I'd lived at home my whole life. Mum did everything, and stepmum did everything for me, an old man. So, I sort of bit the bullet a bit, and I sort of thought I had the 3-year contract from the Victoria, and I sort of said, and my old man to me said, you'd rather get to the age of 28 and said, I'd had a crack at going to play in Victoria and didn't happen, rather than staying in WA and sort of just felt like my career was going to peter out a little bit. And I knew and I believed in myself that I could play for Australia. It's like, I want to have a crack at this. So I sort of came over. David Saker had been coach and they'd won the Shield, done really well. I came in, the pre-season was really good. I got along with Sakes really well. But then he got the assistant job at Cricket Australia. So Ronnie came in, and then we sort of came in both at the same time and just sort of like, bang, got on like a house on fire. And his personality really suited my personality, sort of let me do whatever I wanted to do. And the Vic setup was very different to the WA setup. A lot more senior players sort of knew what they were doing a lot more. Not to say that WA boys didn't know what they were doing, but they're just in a different stage of their careers. So it was sort of...
Strong Vic side.
Vic side. Yeah. So it was sort of... And I knew coming in that I had to perform well to keep my spot in that side. So there was that pressure there. But I think it was also the fact that I moved out of home. I was living by myself. I was doing things for myself. I was thinking for myself. And I think that just all sort of culminated into my cricket. And so, that year was obviously the best year I'd had to date coming to Victoria. But Ronnie sort of instilled the belief in me that, we'll back in. This is the way you play. We'll help you. And one of Ronnie's great strengths, he understands everyone's different and he understands everyone plays differently, but he backs you in to play that way and, holds you accountable to that. But I don't know, it just suited my personality, and some of the personalities in the Vic side suited my personality.
When you talk about that, like McDonald's approach to coaching being about flexibility to different personalities and stuff like that, like you probably can't put a number on it, but like what would be the percentage of players, if you could put a number on it, that do prefer that style of coaching at the top level, perhaps rather than the like, my way, highway, let's run 100 hundreds.
Well, everyone's different. I know, like we used to do, we would do this sort of like a psych evaluation test, and you'd answer all these questions. You sort of think like these questions are bloody stupid, but and you answer, it's pretty much answering the same question all different ways, and it would spit out like this report. So it would sort of say that the best way for Harry to learn is for you to show him what to do and sort of lead him along the way, rather than Pez, the best way for you to learn might be I'll write it down on a piece of paper and that's how you learn and pick up stuff. So Ron was really good with stuff like that. And he was really good at understanding what people were like and understanding each person. So I think that's one of the good things of coaching is some people are very different. Like you're saying, some people are, do it this way, train really hard and that'll make us better. Whereas some guys are actually, they might need a couple of days off to refresh and be ready to go. And then, we'll get going in. So everyone's different. Every coach is different. Everyone's got a different philosophy, but, and it depends what sort of team you're coaching. Some guys will want more of just a relaxed approach. Some guys want more of the footy coach, rev you up a bit and get you going. So every coach is different. I've never been a coach and probably won't be, but I think it's more about reading your group and understanding what that group responds to better.
I'll be right in thinking that the Ashes 2019 away over there be the sort of pinnacle of your career thus far.
Yeah, I reckon. Playing India at home was big. I didn't like. Obviously, I'd never played in a Test series at home, but I'd been to watch a few Test matches. But even being at home, I reckon we're almost outnumbered in all the crowds. So that was pretty big. But being in England, that was a different beast. Yeah. I know. Growing up, especially in Perth, like you sort of turn the TV on at 6 o'clock at night in the middle of winter and watch Test matches over there, and it's great. So just to be a part of it, even though I didn't go that well personally, to be a part of a series when guys like Smithy did really well. Yep. Paddy, all the bowlers did really well. Yeah. Just to be a part of it, you sort of look back on it and you're like, once I was out of the side, I was like, fuck, I can't believe I was actually a part of that. And we had a great time over there as well. That was great.
Because we spoke to Usman Khawaja yesterday, and I was just sort of asking about Headingley, obviously a very painful experience for a lot of the guys. I was just sort of asking if he was sort of ready to celebrate that he was a part of the team kind of thing, you know, part of that moment. I mean, obviously, you dropped a catch, unfortunately, in the very last stages of day 5 in Headingley. I mean, how often do you think about that? I'm guessing every day.
I've thought about it a bit. I reckon after that, that's as flat as I've ever been. So, like,
yeah, right.
Obviously, Stokes, he was going nuts, and then it got down to the wire. So
he batted well, didn't he?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I've had to think about it. And I concluded it was a pretty good night.
I thought he got lucky, but yeah.
Probably when you switch it in 30 rows back, you're probably all right.
Pitch it up, Gaz.
Yeah. It was just one of those ones where, we bowled him out. I think we bowled him out for 50 or 60 in the first inning. So you're sort of like, if we do what we need to do for long enough, we know things should go our way. But once he started smacking him, it was a bit like, oh, fuck this bastard. Like, and the way he'd been playing, especially in the World Cup. You sort of knew what was coming a little bit. So, to have that opportunity go down at third man, and then the crowd tend to let you know what they think over there. And then, obviously, whatever else happened after that as well. So, it was disappointing.
Hey, so and then we obviously saw in the test documentary as well that JL sort of brought everyone through. Was it the next day?
Next morning,
everyone had to watch the match. I mean, like how tense is that room?
Oh, that was hell.
Well,
we didn't know that was happening. We thought we were just going out for breakfast or something. So we just got told to meet down in the lobby. We'll all go for a team walk and a coffee, and then we got frog marched up to the boardroom. But in hindsight, it was probably the best thing to do because we had a good thing about England is you always have a tour game a couple of days after a test match, which is great when most of the time you're still hungover. So to actually, go through it again, and then we went down to Derbyshire and played a game 2 days later.
Yeah. You scored some runs, didn't you?
Yeah, 60 odd or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was got 60 or 70. But it was just a good thing to be able to go down and sort of get back on the horse a little bit. Because one of those things it churns away at you.
Yeah,
especially a test match like that. So to win in Manchester was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you go to Old Trafford and you win, and some famous scenes after that, which might actually play you.
Well, the first time in 18 years. So here's the... Now, we're live. Okay, good stuff.
Yeah, that's you on the Today Show. Yeah. Celebrating the win. Actually kept going, I think.
Yeah. It did.
Well, we got a bloke called Steve Smith.
Yeah.
And we got some pretty good batters.
Right, okay. They have got a bloke called Steve
Smith.
Smith.
He's a legend.
Okay.
He's a legend. Up the Today Show.
Up the Today Show.
Today Show Ultras. Yeah.
That seemed like a pretty good circuit. Once you obviously paid homage to Chris Rogers, or Steve Smith did with his glasses on.
That's right, yeah.
I'm not sure if this has been spoken about in the public domain, but one of the funny thing that actually happened that night wasn't the Tony Jones. We were the team management organised like a rooftop bar sort of set up for us to go and celebrate. It was a Sunday night in Manchester, so the English aren't exactly like Australians with the Sunday session, so it was pretty dead. But anyway, we're up at this rooftop bar and we're having a great time, obviously after the Chomper stuff. And
obviously,
yeah, we'll carry on a bit, and then out of nowhere, Ricky Hatton and his entourage roll into this place we're in.
Boxer,
everyone knows Ricky Hatton.
Yeah.
So we're in there and we're yahooing and carrying on, and Wadey's sort of winding him up a little bit, and he's saying, "Come on," he's like, throw a punch. He's like, and he's like,
Ricky Hatton.
He's like,
throw a punch.
He's like, chip him. He's like, punch Harry. Then I'm looking like over to where you are, and out of nowhere, Ricky Hatton just lands one on my chin. But luckily, I was so blind, I didn't flinch. I was like, oh my God. So the next day, obviously we're still pretty steaming, and we'll walk out of the hotel, and Tony Jones is out the front doing a cross. So I walk over to see him. I was like, TJ, I'm not so sorry for last night. I was like, carrying on, and he's like, mate, that was bloody great. Everyone loved it. I was like, oh, right, yeah. So me and Wadey walked down to the cafe, and we're down in there, and a few of the boys are in there, and we're telling this story about Ricky Hatton punching me. So then, and we thought it was the funniest thing ever. And a few of the journos were sat behind us having breakfast as well, and they obviously must have heard. We'll carry on, and they must have heard me telling the story. And so I walk back to the hotel, and I get this phone call from. I had a message from a manager saying, "You all right, mate?" And I was like, "That's a bit weird." Then I had a message from someone from the ACA saying, everything all good, mate. Can you give me a ring? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, I'm fine. So I ring him up. I ring the ACA. I'm like, oh, what's up, mate? He goes, you get in a fight last night? I was like, nah. I was like, why? He goes, oh, apparently you got an altercation with Ricky Hatton.
That'd be good PR,
Yeah,
though,
would
wouldn't
be,
it?
yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, I knocked him out.
Yeah. Should see him. Yeah. Give him a call.
So there's this huge story that I had got in this huge blue with Ricky Hatton, but all that happened was that he'd landed one on my chin. We all thought it was the funniest thing ever, but yeah, it's a pretty good story.
How'd you guys go at that? Were you wearing full whites, baggy greens, or were you circuit
No,
gear?
we weren't allowed to. I
Okay.
had my baggy green on, but
Yeah.
got told, just be careful.
Yeah.
Obviously, on a away tour, you don't know, English are can be a bit loose at times. So
Yeah, sure.
But I was more than happy to have me baggy on, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
take it off.
It's not like a circuit in Perth.
Well, we hadn't won the series, so it's just we had to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
almost like a circuit in Perth. Yeah,
explains the oval though, I suppose. And
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah. That's right.
100%.
And then to this season, Harry, I just noting, both you and Will Bukowski scored a lot of Park 25 runs. For Victoria.
Glenelg.
Sorry, Park 25 is kind of like a catch-all phrase, really.
Karen
And I'm just thinking like the younger, hairier Will Bukowski made all the headlines. Meanwhile, you compiled 355 runs at 118.3, including a double ton. I'm just thinking when Will's facing, you're at the non-strikers end, like both of you playing for a spot in the Aussie side. Like, what percentage of you is thinking come on, blow this guy's front pad off, Nick?
Well, I didn't sometimes when this might sound a bit rogue, but when if you think someone's a bit of a lesser player, then you're hoping for that. But when you know someone's as good as Puck, you're not too worried. You're sort of like, well, this bloke's unbelievable and he's going to play for Australia anyway. So it doesn't really matter if he makes 200, 100, whatever. And I think if anyone watched Puck bat in those two games, he was on a completely different level to anyone. So it was great to spend a lot of time with him out in the middle. We'd batted a little bit together before, but not that much. And to be honest, it was an interesting call before the first game to have Puck open the batting with me. So one of my great mates is Travis Dean. So it was a bit it was a bit flat that one of my good mates wasn't playing. But then to get out there with Puck and bat with him for, 2 days or whatever it was pretty special. And to watch the way he batted was just like, well, fuck me, this bloke's playing a different game.
It was funny because all the press, which is notoriously always spot on with the way they report things, but all the press in the lead up was kind of talking about how this is what the selector said, that David Warner would be consulted on who he wanted to open the batting with and who he had the best chemistry with and all that kind of gear, and the premise was that opening partnerships are a particularly special combination that you've got to forge in fire and work together, and then you and Will bat for the first time and hit 8,000 runs. It's sort of do you subscribe to the opening partnership thing, and what are you doing to win over David's affections?
I think there is bits and pieces to it, but it can be built up to something bigger than what it actually is. I think once you're out on the ground, both blokes are trying to make runs, so you're both trying to have a good partnership. So no one's ever intentionally trying to get out. So there's bits and pieces to it, and obviously Davey's a senior pro and he's played a lot of cricket and he's got a pretty good record, so he's always going to have a bit of a say. So, but I don't buy massively into it. In the 10 Test matches I've played, besides the last few with Davey, I probably had 4 or 5 different partners as well. So it's always a challenge, but. And what was the other bit of the question?
I don't know. What are you doing to get to earn his affections?
Listening to the shit that he talks more than what I had.
TikToks, couple of TikToks.
Yeah, he's hopeless on social media, but actually, with the way that the setup was in the hotels and stuff in Brisbane and Sydney, and we couldn't leave or anything. End up spending a bit of time with just me, him, and Wade. He sat in the team room at night time, and I don't think I've heard a bloke talk more shit, but if you filter what he says, it can be pretty funny. So
yeah. Well, obviously, Australia, the Test team doesn't play again until I think mid 2030. But I mean, how was it when the South Africa tour got cancelled? Was it a bit of relief in terms of I don't have to bubble listen to Steve Smith's shadow bat next door, or you're looking forward to guys' disappointment that you didn't get to sort of build on your opportunity of playing the last Test match? Yeah,
it was disappointing in that aspect. That the tour, and obviously South Africa's normally a pretty good tour as well. Would have been different with COVID and stuff, but it's going to be a long time between games. But I think once you sort of spoke to our doctors and all that sort of stuff, the risk of going over there was far too great for a couple of Test matches. It's like I said, it's disappointing, and their situation over there's a lot different to Australia. I know they came out and made a few statements last week, but I think every man his dog got COVID over there, and even if you walk outside, I think you almost get it. So we all definitely wanted to go, but it's just got to the point where it's too dangerous, and it's disappointing. But it's going to be good for the domestic cricket going for the rest of this season with the amount of blokes to be able to play.
I know the guys really enjoyed the South Africa tour last time, didn't they? Had a really
it was a good time.
It was a really good tour.
I think it was good for the first two tests.
Few laughs.
Two good teams going toe to toe. You're sort of talking down your contribution to St Kilda. 10 games in 5 years is probably pretty good going for a Test player, really. It's just have a few few pieces of mail coming in from the ground, and it's been relayed to us that the other day you left a message on the St Kilda All Club WhatsApp group, just saying, I don't have the message in front of me, but just fellas, I've got a whole bunch of Aussie kit I don't need anymore. I've left it in the middle of the Junction Oval change room, first in, best dressed. And, I've heard reports of guys literally leaving work, lying to their boss, like driving 40, 50 Ks to see what they can scrounge like fucking seagulls.
Was that guy Jono at Fox Footy?
Yes. That particular source was disappointed to find no bats or gloves, even though your left hand is right-handed. Yeah. But he got a training singlet and stuff like that. Like, what's the thought process there? So, did you get any joy out of going like, here's my Aussie kit, and it's like
just watching him?
Well, what actually happened was I had an old bag at home. So when you play for Australia, you get a lot of stuff, like it's far too much. And then
I know.
Home tours and away tours, you got different sponsors. So literally, it builds up a lot. And I had just changed shoe sponsor as well. Right. So I had a lot of stuff that I didn't need anymore.
You changed shoe sponsor. So you got a shoe sponsorship.
Yeah.
You say like it's obvious. Is that an obvious thing?
Well, it sounds like the sponsorship's not working very well if you weren't aware of that.
Well, do reach out.
Yeah.
Asics. Do reach out, Asics.
But anyway, so I had a lot of leftover old Nike shoes. Shout out to Georgie Lawler, absolute legend of a bloke. And I had a lot of crap at home. So I was like, well, I need to get rid of some of this stuff. And what I've done in the past is no matter where I've played, if I've had a lot of gear, I just take it down to the club and the boys love it. So I just had I had a bag full of old tour stuff from, I think it was England training kit and stuff. And I think a pair of pads and probably 20 pairs of shoes in there. Right. And a cricket bag. So I just said, go and take whatever you want and go nuts. So
that's nice.
I think one bloke was trying to flog a few shoes at the Camberwell flea market on Sunday.
Straight on, yeah. It's an investment. Yeah. It's GameStop.
So, and then you see blokes that have got size 12 feet wearing size 9 shoes, which has happened a few times. So, but no, it's good. I don't need it, so I might as well give it to some blokes that want it.
Yeah. You got any spare baggy greens talking about?
Yeah.
I've got an Australia A one you can have.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I will take that. Yeah. I will take that.
I presume you'll be back in the studio quite soon. Yeah. Harry, very generous answers. Thanks so much for coming into TGC Towers. Well, I mean, what do you make of the studio?
It's a nice area. I think there's a good dentist down here that might have dusted a few of the boys' chompers. I think it might have been Glenn Maxwell and Peter Siddle might have got their teeth done around here somewhere.
Dusted a few chompers. Thanks so much for coming in, mate.
No worries.
#UsTGC for another week. It's been a big show. We crammed in 3 guests this week because that's just how it works out sometimes. So we'll just write this up into just one #UsTGC, which did catch the eye this week, Pez. And of course, if you want to get more of this, you can find it at patreon.com/greatcricket. Every single Friday, we drop a new episode of #UsTGC Fridays, answering your weird and wonderful questions, and we get into some fucking weird areas. Let me tell you. You know the drill, where that is. Pez, you want to read this one?
Yes. Matt Young writes in, Boiiis! Watching Joe Root's sudden and dramatic reversal of fortunes from not scoring a single test century in 2020 to scoring 3 tons in the first 3 tests of 2021, I couldn't help but draw parallels to the recent market volatility in names such as GameStop, AMC, Nokia, and other meme stocks. Yeah. I could not help.
No, I couldn't help it.
I'm trying to help it. Yeah. I can't.
Oh, these parallels keep drawing themselves. I cannot help it.
After what had been a prolonged period of underperformance in Test cricket for Joe, much of the media and so-called pundits, including yourselves, had written him off and excommunicated and excommunicated him from the big boys. This mirrors the sentiment held by Melvin Capital and Citron Research towards GameStop, whereby the self-appointed proprietors of whether a company was worth anything had decided that GameStop was dead and accordingly took out huge short positions against the company. All sorts of issues with those parallels. However, as the people betting against Root and against GameStop became overconfident of their demise, it did nothing but to ensure the exact opposite outcome happened. Where earlier, questions had lingered over Root's position as captain and status of one of the sport's true greats on the back of 3 daddy hundreds and a second consecutive away whitewash of Sri Lanka, Root's status looks secure. Root might himself be the equivalent of GameStop's U/deep fucking value, the Reddit user, deep fucking value, sorry, the Reddit user who catalyzed the meteoric rise of the share price and led an army of self-proclaimed autists with his trademarked sweatbands and Roaring Kitty YouTube channel, cashing in over $14 million from his $50,000 investment. As it is Joe who will be reaping the dividends of his all-time great status for the rest of his life. Knighthood, broadcasting career, multiple non-exec board roles, lucrative speaker fees, J-Root fashion/fragrance line, etc. In a further similarity to GameStop, where the likes of Ja Rule, Mia Khalifa, and Elon Musk were all shown to show their support of the company only whilst the stock was at all-time highs, the ECB recently released a video with messages of support and congratulations to Joe from a multitude of individuals, including Neil Warnock, Jamie Carragher, Jessica Ennis, and Billy Sharp. I wonder whether these supporters will be quite so vocal after back-to-back ducks in Ahmedabad and a 700-run partnership between Kohli and Pujara. Anyway, my question is this. When will TGC be launching its initial public offering on the ASX? And when the price is inevitably set to the moon after you promise to read out self-indulgent stories about the youth cricket careers of any major shareholders, will you, Pez and Higrat, be following the example of the Koss, the American headphone company whose exec directors recently sold personally held stock worth $44 million, more than the entire market cap of the company before the recent price surge? Thanks.
Matt? I got one thing to say. Work in finance, do you, champ?
No, but about stocks, do you? No, but about securities.
It's a great question, and I like the parallels to it, as drawn out as they are.
It was rich.
Rich imagery, some good names in there. I also love the idea that the ECB they're going to ride this wave of Joe Root's career like it's Afterpay or some shit.
Yeah.
And they keep sending messages from from celebrities. You know, where were they when he couldn't convert 49 of his 50s into hundreds? You know, where were they then? Where was Carragher then? Where was Jessica Ennis?
Matt wrote this question in about a week ago when GameStop was soaring, and he's equated GameStop to Joe Root.
Yep.
If Joe Root is GameStop, Joe Root's playing 6th grade Metro Cup at the moment. But you know what?
Yeah.
We're all for GameStop, and we are not Melvin Capital. Christ.
I think as much as anything, we celebrate the return of Joe Root to the big boy table. It's where he belongs.
And where we didn't, it was because we were angry that he wasn't at the table anymore. That's his home.
You know the issues that I've had with anger around this issue, that he has not been scoring runs.
Explain them.
50s.
Explain those issues.
Well,
to
I don't
them.
want to do that publicly now because I'm not prepared for that.
But you do have your list of ways to stay calm.
That's right.
Up on the wall that people can't see at the moment.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
And what happens is I put in some lipstick and I cross off names off a list. Glad I called that guy.
Do-up, shooby-doo-up, do-up.
Now, I mean, I like Root. Who doesn't like? Everyone likes Root. Everyone likes Joe Root. We did a deep dive into who you're having a beer with in the top 4 big boys.
Hey, and this is the thing about Root. Back at the big boys, but the most normal of the 4.
The most normal.
Got 2 kids. Had a few sleepless nights. Fish and Will pointed that out. The other guys, strange cats. Or each of them. Steve Smith, ice creams, Virat Kohli, conspiracy theories, Kane Williams, getting the beer. Okay.
Someone on YouTube described them as the skeleton hiders, New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
New Zealand, please.
Please, get out of here.
Yeah.
But we wish them well when winning the World Cup. The World Test Championship or whatever that thing is that I don't care about anymore.
Unless England win a few games. Right?
Yeah, but they have to win the right amount of games, so then they don't make it, but then Australia make it, then India don't make it, and then they're playing against New Zealand. Hey, there's so much cricket happening. Now, Pez, before we wrap up the show, I know it's been a huge show with lots of guests and lots of guest time, etc. But I do want to say we finished our final show with Channel 7 yesterday. Today is Tuesday. We finished the final show
of the season.
Season 3. of Channel 7. We've had some amazing guests on that show throughout this summer. It's been amazing. Obviously, we haven't been able to travel around and get to see people and perform in front of them on stage, which has been a deep regret personally for me speaking anyway, that we haven't been able to do that because it's my favourite thing to do in the world. But the Channel 7 thing, we've been very lucky to speak to some amazing people. Top of my head, hey, mate, we spoke to Sanal Gavaskar. That was pretty good. Jason Roy, Nathan Ellis, Ricky Ponting we spoke to, Brad Hodge, Damien Fleming. Sock. We spoke to Sock.
Nathan Coulton-Isle.
Wonderful chats to these people. We appreciate sincerely them taking time out of their day to speak to us two idiots from the internet. So thank you very much for everyone who made that happen at Channel 7 and also the guests that came on the show. And of course, this thing just rolls on and rolls on and rolls on because there's so much cricket happening. If you want to get daily updates from the great cricket, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Patreon. You know where we'll be. We'll also be back here, right here on your ears and Spotify and iTunes and all the things you listen to this show in through your ears next week on the Great Cricket Podcast.
Fucking hell. Talk a bit, do you?
See you guys next week.